Good morning. My name is Dominique Nacarado, and I'm excited to present the panel on urban planning in a rural setting, co-benefiting health and the environment. And I want to thank you all for being here and for your interest in sustainable and resilient communities. Our panel includes my project, Transit Collective, for the Upper Arkansas Valley, and the project of Murtaza Naqvi's Municipal Fleet Procurement Policy for the City of Montrose, and that of Paul Brian Jones, Urban Management Planning Development for the Town of Taos. Our panel will highlight triple bottom line praxis and long-term planning using various tools for environmental managers. Our panel will discuss using scenario planning and economy and environmental solutions for sustainable development in urban and rural settings. And our binding themes will include stakeholder engagement, identifying system drivers, community connectivity corridors, and government procurement and policy. You'll see that what ties our projects together is our economic approach to solving environmental problems and our 3P, use of 3P, or triple bottom line solutions. When we are comparing our projects, we found an easy synergy between our projects. We're coupling environment and economics, easily pulled in a social component. So whether it's the cultural heritage of Taos, or addressing regional health concerns in Montrose, or providing transit for underserved youth in urban areas to visit the public lands of the Upper Arkansas Valley, or providing transit for transit-dependent populations within those rural settings. Our projects address different stages of implementation, including building an unprecedented urban resource management plan, including trees, water, and people, using a previous transit expansion feasibility study, and building off previous sustainability action plans for cities. We also work across scales, including towns, cities, counties, and regions. And our overarching challenge has been getting governmental organizations to understand the use of 3P. These governmental entities often have to struggle very hard for funds for these projects. So we're excited to show them how to offset costs using economic methods. We aim to foster collaborative conversations between government and common stakeholders, including the public, businesses, and public land agencies. And what brought us to our projects? Well, Paul Brian Jones has a passion for saving trees and has developed that into an urban management plan that encompasses trees, water, and people. Murtaza Naqvi has been serving as an AmeriCorps Vista since 2013, and through his project works to manage wicked energy infrastructure problems on a subnational level. And I came to my project through a really fun business plan development in BMBS 616. And I want to thank my colleagues that helped with that, Liz Weiss, Barry Wilkins, and Tyler Grimes. And I want to thank Dr. Abell for his encouragement to pursue that project, as well as encouragement from Jess Young. So, with that being said, just want you to know that for some of us, this is the first time presenting our projects to the public. And our engines are primed. We're ready to put the pedal to the metal in our Fiat 3P rally car. So my project, Transit Collective for the Upper Arkansas Valley, encompasses Chaffee and Lake counties. The Upper Arkansas Valley, excuse me, it's going to experience unprecedented growth in coming years. This growth can be harnessed to develop sustainable economy, but must also consider our pristine public lands, outdoor recreation needs and pressures, and the lack of congestion that is bringing people to the valley currently. So, the project's going to explore collaboration in the stakeholder's eye view of the role of rural mass transit in the Upper Arkansas River Valley to develop economies, mitigate pollution, preempt congestion, fill a rural mobility gap, and encourage smart growth. Rural mass transit can increase community resilience by decreasing fuel consumption, decreasing air and water pollution from personal automobile use, and save money for rural families, and also create jobs. So, why this project? For population growth, Chaffee County is expected to grow by 12% by the year 2020, which is kind of our target year for this project. 53% by the year 2040. As well, the urban areas of the Arkansas River Basin are expected to grow up to 65% by the year 2050. It's kind of a similar number for the whole Front Range for that time period. And these statistics come from the Colorado Department of Local Affairs. When you couple that with vehicle miles traveled that are growing faster than the population in Colorado, you have a big problem. As well, there's an economic return for developing public transit of $4 for every $1 invested. That comes from the Environmental and Energy Studies Institute. And as part of that, transit-oriented development can enable expansion of affordable housing, which is a huge problem in Chaffee and Lake counties, probably Gunnison County as well as throughout the West. So current conditions. Sponsors for the project are the Chaffee County Economic Development Corporation and the Chaffee County Administrator. And the administrator was involved in 2011 in a Chaffee County Transit Expansion Feasibility Study that really focused on our local demand response service, which is called Chaffee Shuttle. They prefer the term shared ride because you can't just call them up and ask them for a ride, but they do have a schedule of pickups to get people to the pharmacist or the senior center or the medical centers. So the Transit Expansion Feasibility Study recommended the Chaffee Shuttle Development Checkpoint Service, so fixed stops, and the 5-year implementation plan has not happened yet because of lack of capacity to do so. As well, we have 80% public lands in the Upper Arkansas Valley and a $13.2 billion outdoor recreation industry in Colorado, and our valley is just kind of brimming with recreational opportunities. So while the feasibility study kind of touched on this, didn't really look at this to incorporate checkpoints and or funding for a project like this. Desired conditions, both counties want to be open for business and are just very hungry for that kind of economic development. We'd also really like to avoid I-70 like traffic conditions. So I don't know if anybody in here has just steered completely clear of I-70 in recent years or had to drive it on a busy day, but the Alternative Transit and Parks and Public Lands program predicts that the travel time for the 100-mile section from Denver to Vail will grow from 2 to 6 hours in 2035. So that continues to drive people off of I-70 and down highways 24 and 285 into the Arkansas River Valley. We're seeing a lot more outdoor recreation from the Front Range, and we have a chance to preempt those conditions. We want to maintain clean air and water, access to public lands for the underserved, both within our valley and for youth from the Front Range. And we want to plant trees or rally the Upper Arkansas Valley around and the visitors around global greenhouse gas mitigation, and create a backbone organization by engaging these stakeholders, increase community resilience to other issues. We'd also like to have a good fare box ratio, which is operating fare revenues basically divided by operating expenses. In the United States, 25% is considered a pretty good fare box ratio because often our transit systems are subsidized by sales and use tax or other methods. However, Europe and Asia, there are systems that have fare box ratios up to 185%. So there are models out there showing that this can be successful. Systems diagram just to kind of show you all the components, including the different types of stakeholders that are being included, and the different pieces that we'd like to use and push for sustainable valley. Methods, I've already started with stakeholder analysis of over 30 different stakeholders, including private businesses such as Monarch Ski Area, Climax Mine, Mount Princeton Hot Springs Resort, and the Buena Vista Correctional Complex, which are 4 major employers. They call them the Big 4. Public land agencies are going to be important, and other community organizations. Throughout September, we'll interview these stakeholders and survey them. And September and November, through November, we'll have group meetings with getting different stakeholders together. In December, I hope to use these meetings to apply for community investment grant. And January through March, engage in scenario planning, probably coming up with 4 scenarios, including a do-nothing scenario and scenarios involving different organizational structures for transit. So findings, the community is really excited about this project. There's really serendipitous timing with the Colorado Blueprint 2.0, which is Governor Hickenlooper's push for rural economic development around tourism and outdoor recreation. And I did have to make an adjustment and focus on economic development rather than the public land agencies. It seemed like a better route to move this project forward more quickly. And I wanted to mention that there's plenty of work here for a second cohort project, especially if the funding comes through. So talk to me if you're interested. In conclusion, understanding of rural mass transit and carbon mitigation will increase for all stakeholders involved in this project. It's a prime opportunity to create a transit system that fits stakeholder needs, just in time for smart growth for our communities, and models collaborative action for other community sustainability projects. And we can use that growth and change to increase valley resilience. There's also an opportunity for cross-boundary items such as compressed natural gas corridor, electric car refueling stations, or taking advantage of the sharing economy. And there's lots of room for discussing alternative transport and alternative fuels, but I know Liz is going to cover that with alternative transport, and that's a nice supplement or a nice to work with her with these 2 projects. And now I introduce Murtaza Naqvi, who's going to discuss alternative fuels. His project will be hugely beneficial to looking at a rural mass transit system as well. So with that,
and actually, Dominique, I think the plan is to do 5 minutes of questions for you now and then move on to Murtaza.
Right. And here's my works cited. Questions?
That was a great presentation. I'm really excited. So I have, this is sort of like the next step. Do you have any plans to connect that to other local communities, San Luis Valley, Gunnison?
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity for that, and what I didn't mention is that Chafee Shuttle already partners heavily with Black Hills Stage Lines, which is a profitable private business that connects Gunnison to Pueblo and Gunnison to Denver through Salida. And she's looking for more connections to Alamosa and the San Luis Valley because they have a great need for that demand response system. She really feels like she could double her workforce by having a transit center that serves Alamosa as well. Sorry, when I say she, I mean Connie Cole from Chafee Shuttle. She is Chafee Shuttle. Correct?
I know folks have looked into a bus system to Monarch as well from employees and skiers alike. I'm wondering if you've had initial conversations, and if so, is Monarch willing to help subsidize something like that?
Yeah, that's going to be the conversation we're going to be having all fall. Of course, our initial conversation revealed that they would like us to provide a bus up there for free. But they have applied for grant funding with the Forest Service for another bus to Monarch in the past, so we'll use that application as kind of a platform to see, and that's definitely one of our primary focuses is more shuttle service to Monarch.
Great presentation, Dominique, and I'm really excited to see how far your project has come along in the last few months. Really nice job. And so if you're framing it from a economic perspective, how are the public lands enthusiasts receiving it, right? Or do you have a dual approach for multiple stakeholders?
Yeah, I would say we're going to have preliminary meetings with businesses and public lands agencies separately, kind of feel out what their needs are, and then try to get them in the same room to have a conversation. The public lands, so far preliminary conversations with the lands agencies revealed that there's a permitting process has to be done. They have concerns about outdoor rec pressures that a mass transit system would bring, but I'm thinking there might be ways to actually mitigate pressures through a transit system, like avoiding parking lot expansion and that kind of thing. So it'll be nice to try to find ways to benefit the public land agencies without putting too much extra work on their plates, because they all seem to be pretty maxed out.
Are you basing this on something you've seen in another place, or like a system that's worked? And if so, like what's unique about this valley that?
I think it's unique in the timing, in that there are now models of international models that show that mass transit can be more successful than what we experience here in the United States. I think Washington, D.C. has the highest fare box ratio at 67%. But Hong Kong has 185%. Of course, Hong Kong is very different from the Upper Arkansas Valley. There's a few less people in Florida, but the idea is that so in Hong Kong, they vertically integrate their transit stops with like a mall or some kind of other, they diversify ways to bring in income. So my thought was that since we don't have a transit system and we know that now, that we could, look to what we have available to diversify and bring in income. So there's already several examples of successful shuttle services in Salida that do this. One's the High Valley Shuttle that takes people to the Monarch Crest, and they rent bikes, and they've got a bar, and they've got a sandwich shop there, and they've been doing it for 15 years, so it's obviously successful. So my thought is, why don't we do that on a wider scale, and at the same time create a public that is invested in a mass transit system.
Well, we have time for one more quick question.
Is there any level of public participation in this, contributing to the idea?
I think that's going to be the next step. After we get the private businesses, the public lands, and community organizations and nonprofit on board, then if we're moving forward and there's something for the public to buy into, then I think that's a really important next step for the second